Give everyone at your next event a super awesome mix with our mixtape cards. Each one comes with a personalized message and photo along with a QR code that takes them to your mix on whatever streaming service they use: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or YouTube. They're perfect for birthdays, weddings, graduations, and even holiday cards. Go to superawesomemix.com/mixtapes and bring back the magic of the mixtape at your next special occasion. Welcome back to another Super Awesome Mix. My name is Matt Sidholm, alongside my co-host and co-founder of Super Awesome Mix, Sam Abu Salbi. Sam, how we doing this month?
Doing really well. Enjoying this. I think we're both enjoying some Arctic blast in our neighborhood.
Yeah, it got really cold in Texas for like 2 days, and tomorrow I think it's going to be 70 degrees. So, we're past it. We're working through it.
Nice. Yeah, it's been like nonstop Arctic temperatures in New York, and I love winter. I'm not sure I love this version of winter. I'm a little tired of all the layers.
I can't. Yeah, that was the part that got me when I lived in the Northeast for a few years, and I just, after a while I was like, I can't do this long of a winter. So, went back to Texas, where we've got a total of like 7 really cold days a year, and right. I feel like I'm better off.
That's good. Well, the other thing that's going on, of course, is we've got another new music mix for the month of February, which is always fun to discover new music and talk to you all about it.
It is. And I just want to, this did not make the mix, but I wanted to kind of take a second to talk. Have you heard this new song where Pitbull has taken that old Bon Jovi song, It's My Life, and remixed it?
I haven't, but I'm already sold on just that description.
Okay, I did not include it. Okay, spoiler alert. It's not on my pick of songs this month. But I want you to go listen to it, because to me it sounds like a reaction. Like Pitbull made a reaction video to a Bon Jovi song.
That's amazing.
It's like he's hearing this for the first time, just sitting in his car, and then decided to record a voice memo of his thoughts about this Bon Jovi song. So it's like it's playing in the background and he's just talking over it. I mean, it's amazing that this is getting plays and people are into this, but I part of me hope he makes a whole album like this, where it's just a bunch of songs that have nothing to do with him that he's just going to kind of react to. But he's just, and the other part, he's just doing Pitbull stuff. So it's not like I'm going to react to this song in particular. Mm-hmm. He's just singing the same stuff he always sings, about how he's Mr. Worldwide and he's come up from nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to listen to that after this recording. I can't wait.
Yeah, please do. And we'll bring it up in, maybe next month's new music mix, just to kind of revisit. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I think it's pretty bad. Here's what's not bad, Sam. Some of the picks we've made this month. I think we've got a lot of great ones. And we're going to start with your first pick, which is Self-Love by Blondish.
Blonde:*ish. Yeah, I don't know if you pause with the colon.
I don't know. Yeah, I was like, is it blondish? Like just kind of blonde, or is it like blonde-ish?
Yeah. Yes. So this is just like a happy sounding dance track, and I'm here for that. And this point in my life, I just kind of want that energy, especially with everything going on and the dark, deep winter vibes that we are in, if nothing else. This is just a fun one, and it's all about finding self-love. It's got a great message, and just kind of figuring out who you are and being okay with who you are. I love the bridge where she sings and I try to fit myself into the mold, but that don't leave me any room to grow. I guess I'm one of a kind. Hope someday I can find self-love. And I just think that's a really nice little message. So I wanted to kick things off with some, high energy, positive vibes, all good things.
Yeah, I immediately thought of spin instructor Sam when I heard this, because I was like, this is, and the rhythms, I'm bad about that stuff with spin classes, which songs fit the rhythm. So you could speak to that part of it, right? But I'm also just listening to this going, God, yeah, I could totally see this in a spin class, just kind of getting people going, because it's just such a positive message, but it's very much like a cool dance song. So kind of fits the bill on two levels. So that's immediately, I was like, that's who was drawn into this one. It's the spin instructor side of Sam.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. All right, well, let's get into your first pick, and it is Black and White by Teddy Swims and Mooney Long.
I'll go with Mooney Long. Let's
All
say
right.
Mooney. I would
Mooney
pronounce
Long.
that Mooney Long. Yeah. Yeah, Teddy Swims. This is a guy who I think had kind of a big 2024, like a lot of stuff on the radio, a lot of radio hits, and he's coming out with a new album in 2025. We didn't really touch on him, I don't think, last year in any of our new music mixes or best ofs, but he was definitely, I think, one of the artists of 2024 from like a pop music standpoint. He's got a really super soulful voice, and it's kind of really stands out. It's one of those things where you could see him having a long career just because he can sing the way he can sing, right? Like
Right.
he's
Yeah.
super talented there. I picked this one off the new album because it kind of had a throwback to sort of early 90s like R&B
Yes.
to me. Just not only with his voice, but just the beat behind it and everything, and it's really just kind of a nice love song. So no, I don't know. It just kind of struck me that I'm like, God, we've never really talked about Teddy Swims, and I feel like he deserves a little bit of shout out here, because I do like a lot of his songs, just nothing that's ever bubbled up. Sam, we've talked about it. Sometimes it's hard to just get 6 songs, right? Like
Yes.
sometimes
Yeah.
there's like 10 songs that we want to put on these mixes. So yeah, no, everybody should check it out. And the whole new album, again, if you like the sound of his voice, you're gonna enjoy this.
Yeah, it is like such a smooth song, and just a great kind of slow dance type song. Like I just imagine this like with a montage of like a couple in a slow dance, candles being lit. Like the lights are down low. It's got
Mm-hmm.
that kind of vibe to it. I also really love the album title. I've tried everything but therapy. I think that's great.
Probably relatable for a lot of people out
For a
there,
lot of
right?
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was me one time. But let me tell you, therapy's great. I'm all here for people trying therapy. It can help a lot.
Agreed.
So
Yeah. Don't make that your last resort. Start that one
yeah.
earlier. But Teddy's still doing okay in spite of it
Yeah,
all.
doing
Yeah.
fine.
All right. Well, speaking of therapy and maybe the results of it, okay, I think that fits the title of your next pick, track 3. It is A Good Day at Last by OK Go.
Yeah, I got really excited that I saw a new OK Go track. This is a band similar to many others that we've talked about where like I always kind of forget that they exist, and then whenever they pop back up again, I'm like, oh yeah, I really like them. Like I love their songs. They're quirky. They always have amazing music videos that are usually done as like single cuts, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll just do like one, hit record, and then that's the music video. Like they don't stop or edit it in any way. And some of them are so complex and really kind of mind blowing, like what they pull off. So that's always really fun about them. They just seem like a band that's having like a great time together, and I really enjoy that. But I really like this one. I think it's a very timely track, as many of us kind of struggle to figure out everything that's going on in the world. I love this line though. It's like they always tell you the darkest hours before the dawn. Maybe they're not wrong. Maybe they're not wrong. And that'll only get you just so far before it starts to come undone when it's high noon and there's still no sign of sun. I think I think that's great because there are days like even just let's put aside the metaphor here, but there's definitely days where it's like it's still dark well into the day because there might be a lot
Right.
of cloud cover, storms, whatever. So I think it's kind of funny that they're kind of speaking to that of like, yeah, sure, it is always darkest before the dawn, but sometimes, you're well into the day and you still don't see the sun. And I think that that's something that is relatable to a lot of us right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I love by the way, just generally all your picks, I think this month have a lot of great energy to them. But this one, it's funny because I looked down and for a second there, I thought it was the Black Keys. And then I realized they're coming up later.
Right.
But I was just listening to this while like doing other things before I started taking notes on the tracks. And I was like, oh, this is great. I was like, gosh, is this another new Black Keys? And I was like, no. And then I scrolled down and I was like, well, but something is coming up. So
Yeah, that's so
everybody
funny.
stay tuned for that. But yeah, I mean, just a great energy and great vibe. And yeah, you're exactly right. The message is both literally and metaphorically like true, where it's like sometimes that darkness lasts a little bit longer than you want it to.
Exactly.
But I love it how it's like, okay, there's a good day at last, right? Like
Yeah,
eventually you do get there.
exactly. Yeah. Awesome. All right, your next pick, track number 4, it is Your House by Inhaler.
All right, Sam, are you familiar with Inhaler at all, or were you familiar with them prior to this
I don't
one?
think so. Like the name sounds vaguely familiar to me, but I don't think I've listened to their music.
Okay, so they are a band out of Ireland, and they are fronted by a lead singer named Elijah Hewson. And if his voice sounds familiar, I say his voice because his name might not sound familiar, right? If his voice sounds familiar, it may be because his dad, Paul, has been in our lives for over 4 decades. Okay. His father's better known by his stage name of Bono, and you know his band, U2.
I really like the reveal there. I was on
You
the
like
edge of my
that?
seat
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that was good.
So yeah, this is Bono's son, Elijah Hewson, and
Wow.
here's what I think they're a good sounding band, right? And this is one of the ones I think that's been getting some radio play. But if you go into any of their catalog, like it all sounds good, right? And obviously they've probably got some pretty good support when it comes to producing good music. Okay, but I think what's even cooler, especially for U2 fans, is I think he sounds so much like his dad that
Right.
it's almost like, what if you two got in a time machine and we had 1980, 85 Bono's voice and he was making new music with all the tools we have today? What would that sound like? And it's like, oh yeah, it's Inhaler. It's
Right.
Inhaler. So I don't know. I would encourage fans of like U2 out there, if you're longing for kind of something with a throwback feel, just on the voice, like check out Inhaler, because I think they're doing some great music. And again, once you kind of hear the connection, and again, I like these guys. Like I started listening to them, and then I found out about the connection to Bono, and then I can't stop unhearing it in his voice,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, I just thought this was everyone should check these guys out because I think they're going to be huge eventually.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly helps when your father is Bono, but
It doesn't
you know,
hurt, but there's something to that, right? It doesn't.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, sure. Steph Curry's dad played in the NBA, but God, he turned out pretty good, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of father-son stuff going on these days, it
There
feels like,
is.
Yeah.
Genetics are real, people. Okay.
Yeah, genetics are real. Maybe we'll finally get some, like, hopeful father-son music, I feel like our Father's Day mix that we put out there years ago is still kinda rough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So many songs about dads are just like, you were never there for me.
You were
But
never
like,
there,
yeah,
and
maybe
yeah.
here it could be like, Dad, yeah, you were on tour all the time, but you helped me make a platinum record. So
Right.
it's not all bad.
It's not all bad. Yeah, no, I like this. I like this song. I like the beat. It's got kind of a hopeful vibe to it, although it's like talking about being addicted to something that maybe you shouldn't be, which I thought was kind of fun. So yeah, it was a good song. I liked the topic a lot.
The fun kind of addiction
The
is what
fun
Sam's
kind of
referring
addiction.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Coke Zero, Fine.
Non-official sponsor. Although, if they want to call us, we'll
Yeah,
take their money. We'll take their
we
money.
will.
Okay, so this is this might have been my favorite song title that you included on here. Okay, your next track, it is "Want to Start a Band" by Sleigh Bells.
Yes, Sleigh Bells has a new single, which is so exciting. I love them. Featured them on a new music mix a couple years ago with the album, I believe Texas, with an I, not with an A spelled in that. And yeah, so good. This is basically her, Alexis Krauss, and the just like she said that they literally started their band. They were eating dinner or lunch or something someday, and they were just like, "Hey, do you want to start a band?" And like that's how it started. Which is so fun, right? I mean, I think it's very similar to like when we think about this podcast, right? I think you were just like, "Hey, what if we did a podcast?" And we're
Yeah,
like, "Sure." And here we are,
and here we
5
are.
years later, and I can't escape it, even though I've tried so many times.
Every time you quit, I just laugh and hang up. Yeah.
Right? You keep denying my resignation. But But no, like I love sleigh bells. I think their sound is just perfect for like raising the volume and like losing yourself to like the noise and the heavy guitar sound. And, it's just kind of like discordant, but it's a lot of fun. Like I think they're really good at just making that style of music. So it's a little chaotic. And I think, again, it just kind of speaks to the energy that's kind of in the air these days. So I really like it. And I'm excited for new music from them.
Yeah, what I loved about this is when you read the song title and then you start the song, it like once that idea is planted in your head, the start of the song is just kind of all over the place, and it does feel like somebody just going, "Hey, let's start a band. What instrument can you play? Now you start playing
Right.
that instrument." And they're just sort of playing all these different instruments in these different ways, and it works together, right? And it sounds pretty good, but then they kind of settle in and you get the vocals and it sounds more like sleigh bells. But yeah, just hearing this initially, I thought that was kind of fun that the intro kind of aligned with the song title.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine that many, many bands begin with just kind of noise. And so it works out really well. All right, track number 6. This one threw me because I was like, this song sounds so familiar to me. And then I very quickly realized it was a cover. This is I Love LA by Dawes.
Yeah, so the original was done here in the 1980s by Randy Newman, and I think I included it on one of our big game mixes when the LA
Hmm.
Rams were in the big game a few years back. Dawes is the brotherly duo of Taylor and Griffin Goldsmith. They're from LA. They put this song out after just as a single, kind of in response to the LA wildfires, and so I think they're raising some money around it. And they opened up the Grammys by singing this with quite the super group around them. I don't know if you watched it, but they had this was their backing band. It was Brittany Howard, Sheryl Crow, Brad Paisley, John Legend, and St. Vincent.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those cool Grammy moments where they get all these people up there playing together. But they kind of played an extended version on there where they had some of those members, kind of do some solo stuff in there. But the single is really solid. You'll definitely recognize the song just like you did, right?
Right.
They don't do anything too crazy with it, but I love like his vocal energy is very different and stronger than like Randy Newman, where
Yeah.
Randy Newman sounds so like sardonic and just kind of just so dry that it's a very different feel here. And I just think they give it a little bit of new energy. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, big fan of this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think this one felt even more like an 80s song to me. They just like have that great throwback sound to it and they captured that decade in this version of it. So I really enjoyed it. But yeah, like as I was listening to it, it immediately was like, oh, this sounds so familiar. And then I saw the songwriter and I remembered it all came back. So really nice pick.
All right, Sam, let's pause here to tell the listeners about our new sponsor, skinnymixes.com. These guys give you great tasting syrups for your mixed drinks, your coffee, your tea, even snow cones. And the best part is they're all sugar free. So, right now, with the promo code Super Awesome, you can save 10% on your order with them. So, upgrade your drinks without all the sugar and the junk, and you save a little money. Promo code Super Awesome, and that is at skinnymixes.com. All right, Sam, track 7, back to the mix here. You went with Love Hangover by Jenny and Dominic Fike.
Yeah, Dominic Fike was the name that was familiar to me. I featured him on a new music mix a couple years ago with a new album, and still come back to that album and really like his sound. It's almost like Weezer esque, like that's kind of how I think of him. But yeah, this is like just a great track. It's a great metaphor for bad relationships. Like you just keep falling back into the trap, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, never again, and then you do it again and again. So I think it's really appropriate to call it a love hangover because like if you've ever had a hangover from alcohol, it again you just find yourself in that loop for a long time, unfortunately, of like just swearing it off, and then Friday night comes back around and you're doing it all over again. So I think that some relationships definitely follow that pattern where you're like, I really need to stop being with this person, and yet you continue to be with this person. So I think the topic is great, and I just think her vocals are just amazing, and it's a really nice collaboration with him on the track. So really just enjoyed this track in general.
Yeah, I thought we had back-to-back cover songs here because Love Hangover is an old Diana Ross song. And so that was kind of what I was anticipating when I saw it. But A little different than that. I mean, kind of a similar theme actually.
Sure.
So I'm sure they're going to cut her a check at some point in time. But this one, it's funny because the vocals sound so sweet, but then when you listen to the lyrics, it's like, well, no, this isn't so sweet after all. It reminded me of if you remember at the in Old School or The Hangover, they have that wedding band in both of them, the Dan band, where the guy is like
Vaguely.
singing the song, but then throwing in like the F word periodically and just kind of emphasizing things because it's
Yeah.
like I'm sitting here listening to a song and I'm like, oh, this is a really nice sounding song. And then I'm like, did you just say the F word? Like,
Right.
what am I? Hold on a minute. And then what are they describing? Hold on, let me like get this. So it's like it's kind of there's a little bit of dissonance here because there is a not so positive theme to it,
Yes.
even though I think the beat here and the voices make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, there's definitely some explicit lyrics here, so don't play this with children in the mix. All right, let's go on to your next pick. This is probably my favorite one of all the ones that you brought this month, and it is "It's My Ego" by Ice Cube and Scarface.
Yeah, so Ice Cube came out with a new album in November of last year called Man Down, and he had a version of this, It's My Ego. But he comes back here, includes Scarface. He calls this the Three Mix. And yeah, I mean, just such a throwback. Like if you love Ice Cube and you love Scarface, I mean, this just kind of playing the hits, right? Like
Hmm.
it sounds just like them. So many great rhymes in this one. The one I'll call out, you kind of timid, me, I'm self-centered, you about as loud and rowdy as Kawhi Leonard, which is great. And if you're an NBA fan, you probably don't even know what Kawhi Leonard sounds like. Nobody does because he just never speaks. So it's a great call out there. And Ice Cube is famously a Laker fan, so shot at Kawhi Leonard, who is a Clipper there as well. So yeah, just I don't know. I just thought it was great, and I love it when these guys kind of pop up with a new album, and it just sounds like all the stuff that made them famous.
Yeah, I couldn't help but just thinking now, knowing that I'm pretty sure you're a Mavs fan, and I think the Lakers just literally robbed the Mavs. So I hope you're taking everything
They
okay.
did, yeah. No, look, Dallas, the city of Dallas, credit GM Nico Harrison. I mean, everyone thinks they're giving and helping through the LA wildfires, right? He
Yeah,
decided to donate the entire franchise. So
it's re- it's
I
really generous.
it's
Yeah.
just kind of like this. I mean, just speaks to the charity in our hearts here in Dallas because we just gave it away.
It's very generous. Yeah, very forward thinking. That's what the city needs. They need more star players on their already
Yeah, that's right.
star.
Yeah,
They're
gosh,
like,
there's not enough superstars in the city of LA to help them, right?
no.
You have the second
Um,
greatest player of all time, and now it's like,
right.
all right, well, here's the guy who might replace him. Sure, great,
Exactly.
great, good for
Um,
you, LA. I'm really happy for you.
yeah. Yeah. Again, it's very nice of you, but this is a great track. Yeah, I mean, this is just like a fantastic classic hip hop sounding track. Great bass beat, wonderful lyrics. And I just feel like there's really no one like Ice Cube that can just kind of deliver that edgy, hard rap the way that he does. Like it's just so good. So I'm always here for it. So I really liked it.
All right, your next pick, and this was probably my favorite of your picks. It is "The Night Before" by the Black Keys.
Yeah, so no surprise here that if the Black Keys are going to release a new song, it's going to make it on the new music mix. It's just they just it's a deal I have with them. It's just automatic. I'm contractually obligated to include new music by them.
Also, not an official sponsor, but okay. Yep. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Yep.
But I'm hoping they'll come on the show one day. They'll find out and be like, oh, absolutely, he's the reason our numbers are so good.
It's gonna happen.
Um,
It's gonna
it's gonna
happen.
happen. But yeah, it's funny. I think it seems like they're leaning into that Beck style poppy sound, right? Like we talked about their last album and it was helped to be produced by Beck and there's a lot of influence that you can hear. And it seems like they're like leaning into that. And so it's like a departure from their earlier stuff, but it works. I think it's really nice to kind of hear that that evolution and that develop over time. So I really like this track. I'm curious if the rest of the album is going to sound like this or if this is just like a crossover like single to get them into a different sound entirely or go back to their original one. So we'll find out with the new album coming, but I really enjoyed this track.
Yeah, I just love the energy in this one, right? Like, and I
Yes.
said all your tracks have great energy, but this one, I don't know, probably fit the best. I mean, I must have had Black Keys on the brain because again, I thought they came up earlier when it was OK Go, but then I heard this and again, just really loved it. Loved it. Lyrically, and they're just so consistently good, right? And I think we've
Yes.
talked about this before with bands where it's like once you have the right style and the right vocals and all that, you can make it work, and then you're right. Like they kind of, did a little bit of, a veer away from that just slightly with sort of Beck's influence on the last album. But I don't know if that's here to stay. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think
I
it's
agree.
gonna work really well with them.
All right, this next track has literally just been stuck as an earworm in my head ever since I listened to it. It's definitely an earworm track, but it is Islands in the Stream. But this is the version by Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, so there's a new movie on, I think it's Amazon Prime. It's called You're
Mm-hmm.
Cordially Invited, and it's like a rom com. I haven't watched it yet, but I think it is being very positively reviewed. And so this is from that movie, and so I'm sure it's some part of some climactic scene where they realize they're in love, and they were in love the whole time. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, look, we knew Reese Witherspoon could sing. She was in Walk the Line. Okay, we've heard her voice before. Look, shout out to Will Ferrell because I think he does a pretty good job here, even though he's kind of trying to be half jokey while he's singing it and the sincerity in it. But I think he does a
Yeah.
pretty good job with the vocals here.
It's not
Um,
bad. It's not
yeah,
bad.
yeah, it's not bad. And I mean, the original, of course, was made famous. It was written by Barry Gibb, recorded by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. I love this song. I think it's kind of objectively a great song. This
Yes.
doesn't surpass the original, but I thought it was a really strong effort. And look, I mean, if Will Ferrell's going to come out with singles, I'm probably going to, if you have the Black Keys and they're all going to make the mix, I'm going to say the same for Will Ferrell. Okay.
We should put together his other tracks because I feel like he was great in Eurovision as well. Like,
Yes, that's right. Yes.
yeah, so good.
All right, your last pick. This one is Detroit by Bad Flower.
Yeah, I mention All American Rejects a lot. Like, I just feel like in my head they have just a sound, and I just compare many bands to them. And this is one of those ones where I just kind of get that vibe from them again, like the All American Rejects, the early 2000s kind of alt rock sound that was like sweeping millennials everywhere, myself included. But I just really like the song. Again, I like the energy here. I like the topic of the struggle to like get on that screen, and that screen these days is not necessarily like the TV, but it could just be like getting in front of people's phones, right? Like getting on their phones and having people watch your content. And what a struggle it is. And as they're singing, stepping over everyone, I'm so unhappy, but I try my hardest. I think that is very relatable as someone who also needs to produce content all the time for our stuff. It can be a drag, right? Like at some point you're like, oh my gosh, like this is not a lot of fun. But no, I think this is a great song to kind of just speak to that struggle of constantly producing stuff to get on people's screens and get on their mind.
First off, I want to say the first band I wrote down while I was listening to this was All American Rejects.
Nice.
So
Okay. It's
completely
not just
aligned
me.
there on the sound. Yeah, completely. But yeah, I love the message too. And one thing, you talk about the struggle, but then he also mentions like it's so depressing having everything I wanted. So he kind of talks about once you do achieve that, how maybe it's not as satisfying as maybe he thought it would be, right? Like
Right.
getting to that
Yeah.
point. And Bad Flower's not that big. So it's like if he's depressed now, I wonder what'll happen if they really take off.
Well, therapy is a great option.
Therapy's a great option. It shouldn't be the last option. Okay.
Should not be the last
Shout out to
option.
Teddy Swims. Yeah, it shouldn't be the last option.
And in fact, it's never too late to seek therapy.
Yes.
And that brings us to the last track here, which is Never Too Late by an amazing collaboration of Elton John and Brandi Carlile.
Okay, these two have a whole album coming out later this year called Who Believes in Angels. And there's a couple singles out now. I'm not going to promise you I won't include another track from that album once the whole thing comes out, whether it's on a new music mix or best of, because just hearing this song, like the piano is kind of vintage, like Elton John sounding, right?
Hmm.
Like kind of 1970s ish. I mean, he's blind, at least legally blind, and like he still has the voice though, right? And then you bring
Right.
Brandy Carlisle in with it, and so like vocally, I'm like, this is incredible. Um, and so I just first and foremost love the sound of it, but then yeah, like the message here of just, like the title says, it's never too late. You've always got time, but then they also hint at things in the lyrics where it's like you also don't have a lot of time, right? Like, so it's this
Right.
weird dichotomy, and just kind of kind of it speaks to just sort of being present in the moment, because you just have to value the time that you're in, right?
Yeah.
And use that wisely. So love the message here. I mean, and it's just a beautiful track to listen to. I think I've listened to it a few times now, but can't wait. I think the album comes out in April, but I think this is going to be just a great one.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it just has beautiful songwriting. And like Elton John is a legend, and I think it is always really amazing when these singers who get older can still sing. Because unfortunately, my wife and I recently watched the SNL 50 special, and they had Paul McCartney do a song,
Yeah.
and it wasn't that good. Like he can
Pardon?
play. I didn't think it was that good. I don't know if it was the studio sound, if it wasn't mixed well, but he can play, but his singing just did not. I don't know. Maybe he picked the wrong song, but
I
something about it
think
just didn't work
no,
for
I
me.
think you're right. I think certain voices, one, I think, look, just all of us physically will sort of deprecate over time, and sometimes
Sure.
that does affect people's voices. But I do think his voice in particular, where I don't know, it's a slightly higher register from a singing standpoint. I think that's harder to maintain. Whereas like
Yeah.
Elton John being a slightly lower register, maybe that stays longer. I'm sure there's some vocal expert out there who can help us out, at
Yeah.
Super Awesome Mix. But in the meantime, I can only speculate. But yeah, you're right. Like he doesn't sound as strong. I mean, it's almost like the Bob Dylan thing. Like Bob Dylan's
Right.
still
Right.
out there, and now it's like now we just have Timothy Chalamet, and just like, okay, well, you sing Bob Dylan songs instead.
Right.
Like, I think we're all happier this way, even Bob.
Right. We'll just hot swap them in. No one will notice.
No one will know. No one will know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, there you have it. Another super awesome mix for your collection. This time, new music from the month of February 2025. We got plenty of mixes to work on the rest of the year. So Sam and I will get to work on that. And so for Sam, this is Bat, and we'll see you next time. Super Awesome Mix is brought to you by DLM. Make shopping easy with DLM, the one-stop shop for all your casual clothing needs. Shop dlmsupplyco.com and enter the promo code AWESOME at checkout to save 15% off your first purchase. That's dlmsupplyco.com.